Hello, and welcome back to me sitting on my bed talking into a tiny microphone about things. And today, I've kind of changed my schedule already, but today I want to talk about what it means to be age appropriate. Of course, there are so many different parts of this. This is not just like a right or wrong or this or that. But I follow this person and he recently posted a video saying, why do we try to change people for like whatever they like? We should just be supporting them. And of course, a bunch of people responded saying like, I'm autistic and people were always trying to change what I was into and I hated it and it ruined relationships and yes, I am totally there with you, and I don't think that we should be like forcing people to change their hobbies or their interests. Like I don't think that makes sense. But I do think there is like parents and educators are in that role where we are teaching children about their communities and their cultures, and it's going to look different everywhere. But like teaching social norms. So I used to work in the deafblind field, and one of the visuals that we always showed people was how typical learners learn and how children who are deafblind learn. And there are three sections. So for the typical learner, they mostly learn by observation. They learn by, a parent turning on the TV with the remote and they see it happen and they see that the TV turns on and then they learn to do it. Secondary would be someone coming over with the remote, explaining the words, showing the power button, turning it on, having a whole conversation about it, a teacher teaching or a parent teaching. And then at the top of this little square, it's direct hands-on learning. And that would mean like, getting to explore the remote, getting to like feel the power button and the different tactile things, and then like turning it on and like hearing it, whatever, direct hands-on learning. And especially when I was working in the deafblind field, what fell into this category a lot was social norms that people don't really think about, especially typically developing learners, because they figure it out by observation, or they get too close to someone and someone's like, whoa, back off, what are you doing? And so those social norms don't always get taught to people. And I think it's really important that as teachers and as educators, especially who are working with people in the disabled community, sometimes we need to explain that. And not in like a mean way, not in a bad way, like just really just explaining it so they also have the opportunity to understand like, oh, Bluey had a great example of this where there's a character who gets too close, and Bluey at one point the dog is like, why does no one want to be near me? And Bluey's like, well, you're a space invader. And the dog was like, what do you mean? And Bluey had to tell the dog. And that's just a great example of like, if someone doesn't pick up on like the social cues that some people just like easily pick up on. So why this brings me back to age appropriate. And you know what? This also has another story to go with it because so I went to this beauty pageant, and it was for women with disabilities. And one of the women who was in it, she was like in her 30s or 40s. And she came up, they asked her a question of like, what are you into? What are your interests? And she like, she got kind of nervous and was like, oh, I have a big crush on Justin Bieber, and just was like giddy to tell everyone about her big crush on Justin Bieber. The issue that I had with this was that this was before Justin Bieber was legal. This was when he was under 18. And yes, is this woman like going to act on this relationship and reach out to Justin Bieber? No, probably not. But if it was a person without a disability saying this, like, would everyone sit there and be like, oh, that's so cute? Like, if some like old man in his 40s or 50s was like obsessed with Miley Cyrus when she was on Hannah Montana. It's like it just doesn't make sense that. And if anything, this kind of makes it feel ableist to me that nobody even thought to explain it to this woman about why that's like not really appropriate to have a crush on an underage person. And I don't even think that that needs to be this huge topic. Like, we don't need to scare people who have never been talked to about like what is kind of I mean, I can see why appropriate is like a touchy word, but kind of focusing on like, oh, you really like music like this, well, there's Justin Timberlake and there's Usher, like, let's go over some other music. And it doesn't mean she has to stop listening to Justin Bieber, but I think as teachers and educators and people in her life, I think it would be I mean, it's beneficial for her too to explain. And I mean, okay, my brain is going all over the place because now I just feel like, how inappropriate that comment was. But then it was like in my head, I'm just thinking that people didn't think to tell her because they're like, well, she can't be in a relationship, like, which is ableist. It's ableist to think that people with disabilities can't be in a loving, romantic, sexual relationship. So, anyways, back to the original post that this guy responded, like, did. Of course, I commented on it because I said, yes, of course, hobbies, support people with what they're interested in, use it to, like, their interest. Like, if they're interested in Justin Bieber, maybe make a song that has some like math, whatever, multiples, like baby can, I should have thought of an example before I started recording. I don't know. I'm sure it could be some sort of like math song. But like, how can we also explain like social norms? And then I also had a conversation with someone online who was saying that like socially, some people hide what they're into because they know that they'll get made fun of, which is also like, that's not how I want people to feel either. But there are some sort of, what is the word here? There is some sort of like challenges that I have to accept these kind of, it's a fine line. Okay. I thought of another thing of why this bothers me so much. Because I feel like if somebody is really hyper focused on something that is like not what their peers are also focused on, it's also telling me that they're not included with their community. And I'm not saying that like everybody included in their community is not going to have like some things that they are into or hobbies or whatever. But what I am saying is if a student who's in high school is being sat in a segregated classroom, watching Barney all day or like listening to music that like should be in a kindergarten classroom, then like, yeah, of course they're going to like Barney and like little kid things. And then they're going to be treated like a little kid, but they're in high school. Like, we need to treat disabled people the age and the person that they are. So that that is like pretty much the summary of what I want to talk about with age appropriateness, in my opinion. I would love to hear your thoughts because I do think that this is a pretty big area, and I'm sure there are a lot of people that feel very different in like where we are with like what's age appropriate, what's a social norm, what's just like, following what's in, like, because everyone should have different thoughts and ideas or whatever. But how do we do it safely and inclusively? um, yeah. The last thing that just popped into my head, maybe last thing, who knows? When you don't have a script, you go crazy on podcasts. Was this person who said, well, if they're cognitively lower, then shouldn't we just be treating them like the age that their cognitive level is at? And to that I say no. Because first off, cognitive testing is a joke. Like, okay, it's not a joke. I know why it's important, but it really is like there's only so much that you can get from one of those standardized tests. It's a really specific test. You have to ask in specific ways. Yes, there's accommodations and modifications and alternative testing, but it's coming from a specialist's opinion. Like, it is never going to be it's not actually showing the age of a person. It is showing how they performed on an assessment. So, first off, that's what I have to say about that. Second, even if this student is a high school student and they can't read and they can't write and they can't do math and they like to color and they like to watch like pictures or whatever, or take pictures. That doesn't mean that we, as educators and adults and people in their life and their community and their inner circle, shouldn't be supporting them to still like learn new things. Isn't that what we're always doing? Even as adults, like learning new things, getting interested into other things, getting hobbies and all that fun stuff. I mean, I'm doing a new hobby every month and I'm in my 30s with 2 children. Like, our hobbies shouldn't just be changing. And just because we're fat, and it doesn't mean I've let go of hobbies that I also really like or things that I'm into. So there's my tangent. There's my tangent for the day of something, of age appropriateness. So I mean, I guess in summary, I feel like as teachers and educators, we should be not babying anybody, but especially because this is just more common that disabled people get babied, and they shouldn't be. They don't want it. They don't need it. They and it's being ableist. Oh my God. Okay, I can talk about this for hours. So that's that. To conclude on this podcast, though, so just a reminder, I'm going to do 10 episodes. This is episode 2. Episode 3 is going to be my review of Queer Eye, the episode with the deaf football coach who just got like a promotion and stuff. So that will be dropping next Monday. And I think in a couple episodes, I'm going to have my first guest. So stay tuned. If you guys are interested in being guests, or if you would like to be on here and talk to me about like, I mean, anything, even if you don't agree with something that I say, I mean, I would probably want you on even more. Because we're not all going to agree because everyone's different. And that's what I love about inclusion. Inclusion is not just this one thing. It's a big, beautiful, complex story, life, picture, image, I don't know, rainbow. I love rainbows. Okay, well, that's it. Make sure you're following me. Inclusion Starts Now is everywhere. That's the thing on all the social media platforms. I do have my website, inclusionstartsnow.com. So if you go on there, you can, see all the fun stuff I do. And it's great. Also, if you are still listening, every new purchase of any merchandise or any of my books, 2 of them are only pre-order. 1 of them I have right now. Every one item, $5 of it will be donated to the Recess Project, which I'm on the board for. But we're doing a big swing-a-thon right now, and it's 100 days of swinging, and we're trying to raise money to get a wheelchair swing at a school, and wheelchair swings are $30,000. So that's our overall push that we're trying to get. My personal goal is $2,500, and I am very far away from it. So if you are looking for some more inclusion gear, I got my hat on right now. I got my sweater that says, I love inclusion and Christmas. And I just put on some new merch. I just put on some like glassware that's so cute. All these other things. So, and everything's on there because I don't delete things for some reason. But anyways, $5 goes to all that stuff. So thanks for being here. If you have any comments or questions, I love talking about this stuff. And there it is. So inclusion starts with you, and I just want to help. Have a beautiful Monday. Bye. Oh, oh no. Okay. End. How do I end? Stop.